Antarctica is Earth's southernmost continent. It contains the geographic South Pole and is situated in the Antarctic region of the southern hemisphere, almost entirely south of the Antarctic Circle, and is surrounded by the Southern Ocean. At 14,200,000 square kilometers, it is the fifth largest continent and nearly twice the size of Australia. It is by far the least populated continent, with around 5,000 people in the summer and around 1,000 in the winter. Antarctica on average is the coldest, driest and windiest continent and has the highest average elevation of all the continents. Here are some interesting facts about the continent of Antarctica. Antarctica holds most of the world's fresh water. An incredible 60 to 90% of the world's fresh water is locked in Antarctica's vast ice sheet. The Antarctica ice sheet is the largest on Earth, covering an incredible 14 million square kilometers of Antarctic mountain ranges, valleys, and plateaus. This leaves only 1% of Antarctica permanently ice-free. Some areas are ice-free in the summer, including many of the areas in Antarctic Peninsula. At its deepest, Antarctica's ice is 4.5 kilometers thick. That's half the height of Mt Everest. If it all melted, global sea levels would rise about 60 meters, which means 200 feet. Antarctica is a desert. Technically, a desert doesn't have to be hot or sandy. It's more about how much precipitation the area receives as rain, snow, mist, or fog. A desert is any region that receives very little annual precipitation. The average annual rainfall at the South Pole over the past 30 years was just over 10 mm. Although there is more precipitation towards the coast, the average across the continent is low enough to classify Antarctica as a polar desert. As well as being one of the driest continents on Earth, Antarctica is also the coldest, windiest, and highest. Antarctica used to be as warm as Melbourne. Given that the coldest ever land temperature was recorded in Antarctica, it can be hard to imagine Antarctica as a warm, temperate place. But Antarctica hasn't always been an icy land locked in the grip of a massive ice sheet. In fact, Antarctica was once almost as warm as Melbourne is today. The Antarctic Peninsula is one of the most rapidly warming areas on Earth. The Antarctic Peninsula is warming more quickly than many other areas on Earth. In fact, it is one of the most rapidly warming areas on the planet. Over the past few years, average temperatures across the Antarctic Peninsula have increased by 3 Celsius, 5 times the average increase on Earth. This has led to some changes, for example where and when penguins form colonies and sea ice forms. It also means that the lush mosses of the Antarctic Peninsula have a slightly longer growing season. There is no Antarctic time zone. The question of time in Antarctica is a tricky one. At the South Pole, the lines of longitude, which gives us different time zones around the globe, all meet at a single point. Most of Antarctica experiences 6 months of constant daylight in summer and 6 months of darkness in winter. Time starts to feel a little different without the normal markers for day and night. Scientists working in Antarctica generally stay in the time zone of the country they departed from, but this can cause some issues. For example, on the Antarctic Peninsula, you can find stations from China, Russia, the UK, and many other countries. If all of these neighboring stations keep to their home time zones, it could get a little confusing trying to share data and resources without accidentally waking one another up in the middle of the night. Antarctica has active volcanoes. Antarctica has several volcanoes and 2 of them are active. Mt Everest, the second highest volcano in Antarctica, is the southernmost active volcano on Earth. Located on Ross Island, this ice-bound volcano has some unique features such as ice fumaroles and twisted ice statues that form around gases that seep from vents near the volcanic crater. The second active volcano is on Deception Island, a volcanic caldera in the South Shetland Islands. Once home to a thriving whaling station and later a scientific station, it was abandoned after the most recent eruption in 1969, and today it is a fascinating place for some of Antarctic Peninsula voyages. There's a subglacial lake that flows blood red. In 1911, on a remote glacier in East Antarctica, a strange phenomenon was observed. The lily white ice of the Taylor Glacier was being stained a deep red by water flowing from deep within the glacier. For many years, the source of the red color remained a mystery, but in 2017, scientists announced that they had discovered the cause. The water flowing from within the glacier was from a subglacial lake high in salt and oxidized iron, and when it came into contact with oxygen, the iron rusted, giving the water its striking red shade and its name, Blood Falls. Antarctica has its own treaty. When humans caught their first glimpse of Antarctica in 1820, it was the only continent without an indigenous population. Several nations quickly made claims to the continent, which led to significant attention. While some countries argued that Antarctica was rightfully theirs, others hardly disagreed. As tension mounted, everyone agreed on the need for a peaceful resolution. In December 1959, 12 countries signed the Antarctic Treaty, an unprecedented international agreement to govern the continent together as a reserve for peace and science. Since then, 41 other countries have signed the treaty and participate in annual meetings where decisions are made about how human activity in Antarctica is managed. All decisions made within the Antarctic Treaty system are made by consensus with collaboration and agreement as the central pillars. Diamond dust floats in the air. Although there are low levels of precipitation in Antarctica, meteorological wonders abound and diamond dust is one of them. Diamond dust is made of tiny ice crystals that precipitate out of humid air near the Earth's surface. It's a little like an icy fog. And ice crystals hang suspended in the air. Sunlight causes them to sparkle, creating a glittering effect that looks like a million tiny floating diamonds. Diamond dust is also responsible for beautiful optical phenomena like sundogs, halos, and light pillars. There are more than 9,000 known animal species in Antarctica, including 46 species of bird, 10 cetaceans, including killer whales and humpback whales, 6 species of seal, and 7 Antarctic penguin species. There are no trees or shrubs in Antarctica, and there are only 2 flowering plants, Antarctic hairgrass and Antarctic pearlwort. But there are over 1,000 species of fungi, 700 species of algae, and 20-odd species of macrofungi. There are also 100 species of mosses, 25 species of liverworts, and 300 to 400 species of lichens in Antarctica, and living in these microforests are 67 species of insect. Antarctica covers an area of 14.2 million square kilometers. This is about twice the size of Australia and larger than the United States of America and Mexico combined. There are several fish in Antarctica that have special antifreeze proteins in their blood to stop them from freezing in the polar ocean. Antifreeze proteins help Antarctic fish in sub-zero temperatures to lower their freezing temperature so they can survive in these freezing waters.